Welcome to the universe in a seashell, the podcast dedicated to science, life, and girl power. I'm Kara Bartek and I'm your host. I'm a PhD, an author, and I want to make this world a more equal and opportune place, one girl at a time. Hey, welcome to the podcast. I am Karen, I'm your host, and I am joined by my very lovely and ever-patient co-host, Caroline, otherwise known as Cece.
Hi, guys.
I say that she's very patient because this is, what take of the episode? Okay, she's counting on her fingers. I'm going to go ahead and narrate. I'm going to narrate her moves. Penny's eating some pasta. She's watching us from afar, so I don't think she's going to join our discussion today.
I think it's our 12th take.
It's why has this been such a difficult episode?
I don't know.
Do you think it's the subject matter, the black hole? Because black holes are truly a time-bending, rule-breaking, physics-defying concept. Do you think it has to do with the subject matter at hand?
No, I think it's because we have a lot of stuff going on today because we think our dad's coming home. Me and Penny are gonna go to our grandma and grandpa's, and it's just.
Oh yeah, we have definitely been busy all summer. Yeah, so Cece and Penny's dad, my husband, hopefully will be wrapping up the harvest of our research trials today. Cross our fingers as long as everything goes well. And it's been a very long season. And that's why summers are not vacation time for us. It's definitely rubber to the road, nose to the grindstone. There's a lot of work that has to happen in the summer. And that kind of leaves us at home cooped up, doesn't it?
Winter is normally our vacation.
Yeah, winter time. But so we're kind of all in the house on each other's nerves. Most recently, we were very hangry at one another, right, Cece?
Hangry.
Okay, yes. Okay, please tell everybody this word that you came up with because I'm into it.
Okay, so I came up with this new word that means tired, angry, and hungry. So you say tangry.
Okay. You know what? Being tired, hungry, and angry all the time, that perfectly describes me. I feel like my name could be Kara Tangry Bartek.
Yeah.
In fact, you know what? I think I'm going to put that on my business card, like on my website. Kara Tangry Bartek. The hungry, angry,
tired
gripey,
mom.
Tired mom. I am. Okay, because I have to air my grievances right now with you. Okay? Oh, do you hear my soul animal in there, Bob? He's airing his grievances at our other dog. You can probably hear her clopping around on her big, long toenails. That's Beetle. Well, Bob he's angry that she's clopping around. I'm angry she's clopping around too because she's kind of messing up the audio, but what are you going to do with the 17-year-old pit bull?
And at the end, we have a surprise that we're going to do with Bob. So
Don't tell everybody.
It's a surprise.
In case you're a first-time listener, the regular co-host are Caroline, 8 years old, science enthusiast, dancer extraordinaire, multiplication. I don't know. You've kind of got the love-hate going on with the multiplication. And then there's also Penny. She's 4. She makes up great stories. She's into rewiring appliances. But then there's also Beetle, 17-year-old pit bull. She walks through our broadcast all the time. Clip, clop, clip, clop. And then there's Bob. He's the angry wiener beagle. And you can hear him in the background very often. Don't make him sing yet.
I'm not.
Okay,
there's another word to make him sing. Rrr makes him go like rrr back.
And also if you smell him like he gets really mad. He'll try to bite your face off. He's got issues.
He has a stench, but he hates you noticing it, so.
Yeah, he doesn't like to be smelled.
And then there's an other pet that we already, an unwanted pet that we had, so.
Yeah, and this is one of the reasons I am tangry at you today. Okay. So, you know, we recently relocated out into the country, and being out in the country, you've got to get used to bugs, critters, skunks, possums, armadillos, all kinds of things. There's another little creature that took up residence in my truck. Now, but I need to back up because I do believe that Cece and Penny are at the root of this. Okay? Because I'm a live and let live kind of a person, but I do have my limitations with certain creatures. Like, okay, I'm cool with all the spiders making webs on the porches. Let live. But this little guy, he took it way too far.
Why didn't you let him live?
Okay, well let me tell the story. Let's inform our friends out there exactly what happened. So, in accordance with the live and let live philosophy that I generally like to apply to my own life.
Okay, making a list. Which ones do you hate?
Hate is a very strong word. Just listen. I allow the girls to eat in the truck. Okay, look, we're on the road. We've got after-school activities. We're visiting family. Maybe we have to go to fields to check them during the summer. Okay. We eat in the car. We eat a variety of foods. Whataburger, Subway. What else do we eat in the car?
I'm writing down a note. Can I see the pin?
No, you listen. What do we eat?
French fries, hamburgers.
The only thing you need to be writing down is I'm sorry. Okay. So, I noticed at a certain point when I opened my glove box that there was a nest in my glove box. Okay, now listen. Now, we did not have a bird living in the truck. Okay? No birds, but there was a nest. So it was kind of made out of like dead grass,
paper, twigs,
but there was also
fur.
Oh yeah, Penny's saying it from across the room. There was some fur. Okay, and my heart sank when I saw the fur. I immediately got that feeling. I kind of knew what it was. But I thought, okay, maybe this was a one-time thing. The little guy came in, made a nest, and he's gone. So I said, okay, probably what's happening is maybe there's a French fry somewhere in the car. Maybe
One French fry.
A small chip has gotten loose. Well, no, wait a second. So I lifted up y'all's car seats, and not only was there a French fry, but there was basically an entire grocery store. Okay, so let me elaborate.
Or a buffet?
A virtual cornucopia. So it appeared, number one, that you and your sister had toasted an entire loaf of bread and had grinded it up. Okay, that was the first thing that I noticed. Second, there was not one, there was not two. There was an entire order of French fries. There was remnants of a hamburger. It looked like a buzzsaw had eaten it, okay? There was what only I could assume is half pieces of chicken nuggets. There was almost 6 inches of an entire meatball sub. Corn nuts. That the only way I think that you were probably you had to have gotten an entire handful of corn nuts and completely closed your mouth and just slammed it right into your face.
What if I did do that?
I'm pretty sure that's what you did.
No, I didn't.
Okay. How did 50 corn nuts to get it. How?
I don't know.
There was decapitated animal crackers. Like you had just bitten the head off and just left the poor animal cracker. You're laughing. But I go under there and I was like, I could feed a small nation with this. It was disgusting. So, okay. So I got the food out, got the nest out, and I'm thinking, okay, we're in the clear. We're in the clear. This visitor, which has still not been confirmed yet, of course, I have a very strong speculation, which you guys are probably thinking the same thing I'm thinking. What it was, and I'm not gonna say it because here's the deal. I later got confirmation of what this little guy was by
It's poop?
yeah, it looked like little baby raisins in the cup holders. So, homeboy, little baby mouse, was coming up, eating all of y'all's food, and then he was taking a big mouse poop right in the cup holders.
He thought that they were porta potties.
Clearly. And you know, guys, we could like contract a medieval disease. Like this is like Black Plague level, okay? And here,
Tell me about the Pop-Tarts.
oh yes, so there was a Pop-Tart. I know it was fruit filled at some point, but the only thing that remained inside was something that was black and like hard. And I think it had like a radiation kind of a thing, like you touched it and it kind of like vibrated, like it was so. I should have called a museum.
And said, "Here you go.
No,
Here's
not a
some
museum.
fossils."
Yes, no. What I should have called is a forensic investigator, honestly, because this was a total crime scene.
No, it wasn't.
But eventually we did get rid of the little mouse. Now, after he did extensive and very expensive damage to my truck, yeah, we eventually kind of evicted him. But at that point, he was severely overweight after, feasting on this buffet. He had, made plans to build his own condo. He was inviting all of his grandchildren over, and yeah, it was bad.
He had his own little condo.
Guys, never again. Never again.
Why?
So, but anyway, beside all that, I still kind of love you.
Still kinda.
Yeah, I guess you're okay.
Kinda.
I guess you're okay. But anyway, so that's
You're-
a little insight into some of our adventures.
You're okay.
Thanks, dude. But again, what we're going to be talking about is black holes. And again, I think that you and I have entered into this black hole that we cannot produce this podcast effectively. So I'm thinking that this is the time that it's going to stick. Because it's a very, very interesting topic. And black holes is one of my favorite scientific concepts because it actually breaks the rules of science. It makes the things that are impossible possible.
So, like things that scientists can't do, black holes make it possible?
Well, they certainly, they represent the possibility, for sure. Okay? So, now I asked our super fun listeners to submit some questions. And guys, I got some great questions. Okay? And I'm going to read them right now. And they helped shape this podcast, okay? So as we go through and we talk about black holes, I'm going to be reminding you of these questions and how we're going to be answering them. Because I know a little bit about black holes, just enough to be dangerous, but I definitely had to do research, just as I have to do on every podcast. I have to go out, I have to really understand the topic so we can make sure that we're talking about this intelligently, right? Because the universe in a seashell is all about making this world a more equal and opportune place, one girl at a time. And what I mean is I want to make way for girls like you and your sister in science. I want you ladies and the folks out there listening to change this world. Because we've got a lot of changing we got to do, right? We've got a lot of plastic in the ocean. Our world is getting hotter. our crops are becoming more scarce, pests are more dangerous. Look, we have a very, very precious world that needs to be taken care of. There are people that are sick, there are people that are suffering, and we need brilliant, smart minds who have great, big, compassionate hearts like you and like you to change this world. Okay?
Okay.
But we got to start with this little tidbits of knowledge. We got to talk about the fun concepts in science, and it's the things that we talk about aren't going to be for everybody. But hopefully some of these things stick with you. Hopefully it piques your interest. And maybe you want to do more with it. Maybe you'll be a black hole scientist. Okay. So, here are the listener submitted questions. Okay, number 1, what is a black hole? We're going to be talking about that. Have we ever explored a black hole? We're going to be talking about that. Are black holes time warps? Hey, this is a great question. So, Caroline, can you tell our listeners what a time warp is in case anybody out there listening is not quite sure what a time warp is?
If you've ever heard of, Mom, have you ever heard of time traveling?
Yeah, it's like a really cool thing that I read about in books a lot of times.
Yeah, so a time warp is basically a thing that can either take you forward or back in time. So it's basically time travel.
Yeah, and because black holes already kind of defy the laws, hey, this might be a way. Okay, so let's talk about that, and then also this final question, which is: if something is sucked into a black hole and no one is around to hear it, does it still not make a sound? That sounds like a sarcastic question, but guess what? Turns out that's going to make for a very interesting discussion. What do you think?
Cool.
Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's talk about the scientific definition of a black hole. A black hole, which again, this lines up with our listener question of what exactly is a black hole, is a region of space-time exhibiting gravitational acceleration so strong that nothing, no particles, electromagnetic radiation, or light can escape from it. Okay? Now that is the very technical, very scientific definition. And a lot of you out there will probably get that. But here, let me break it down very simply. A black hole is an extremely dense part of space. Imagine taking something as large as the sun and squishing it down into something as small as the freckle on the tip of your nose. Okay? It's this super, super massive volume that has been condensed down to a very, very small point, okay? Now, because it is so dense and because it exhibits such strong gravity and rule-breaking attributes, I guess you could say.
What? Sometimes you use words I don't understand.
Well, it's got this rule-breaking sense about it. It basically breaks down space and time. It defies what reality actually is because it's so huge, because it is so dense, okay? And a black hole has been theorized as being the end of a universe, or maybe even the beginning of one. It's so strange, it's so out there.
The end of a universe?
Right. Like if we were to think about our universe having like an entrance and an exit, the idea is a black hole could potentially be that exit. And on the other side of it is a totally new universe. That's just some of the theory, that some of the speculation. Basically, a black hole is a super dense, super massive, super amazing part in space that has been condensed down to a very small space, okay? All right. Now, here's the deal. You cannot technically or directly see a black hole. Now, why do you think that is?
Because the sky is black and a black hole is black?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, that kind of seems pretty simple, right? So if white light it represents the presence of light, or it represents every single color in the light spectrum, black represents the absence of it. So if we think about a black hole means basically the absence of light, the absence of everything. Okay, now no light can escape from a black hole. It's impossible for us to directly sense the hole using the instruments that we have in our modern day astronomy and cosmology. The key is you have to look for the effects of the black hole. So basically, you have to see what's happening next to the black hole. And then you can basically infer where the black hole is.
So you have to see the effects around it?
Yeah, so let's say a black hole is right next to a supermassive cheeseburger. Like the cheeseburger that I found in the back seat of the truck. So what would happen, because again, the black hole is sucking in space and it's super dense, it's got all this gravity, all this attractive force, it would be taking in that cheeseburger. And if we were looking at that cheeseburger, we would see the top bun getting sucked off, okay? And then maybe a pickle or two get sucked into the black hole. But because the hole is black, we're kind of going, well, where did those pickles go? Where did that bun go?
Or maybe the tomatoes.
So what scientists are observing is that there is a star close to a black hole, and all of a sudden it's being affected by something that they can't see, okay? What they're seeing is that the star is being sucked, it's being ripped, it's basically being destroyed, the same way that you destroyed those poor, defenseless animal crackers. That black hole is tearing it up. So really what the scientists say is, okay, I cannot directly see the black hole, but I can see what it's doing to the things around it. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay, now here's something really crazy. Our Milky Way, the galaxy that we're in, most likely has a black hole at the center. Penny, come here. Tell us what you think about that. Penny's kind of finished with lunch now. Poor Penny, she's been a trooper too during this whole podcast. Like I call this our podcast black hole. What do you think about the possibility of there being a black hole at the center of our galaxy?
I think they're really black, but and they're like strong. I know them because I heard you say that. But
well, what would happen? What do you think would happen with one at the center of our galaxy?
Our galaxy would be destroyed.
You think it would be destroyed? Well, girl, you know what? Honestly, that's not a bad inference. And let's see exactly what Universe Today says about that. So basically, does this supermassive black hole that is predicted to be at the center of our galaxy actually pose a threat? What astronomers generally say is no. Okay, here's the deal. Now, the galaxy is huge, like massive, like ginormous, right? Mm-hmm. Like how big, Cece? Like butt crazy big?
Like the size of a ginormous hamburger.
Wait, say, because that's what's on your mind right now?
Like the size of a ginormous hamburger.
Now, I thought you weren't tangry anymore.
I'm tired, but I'm not hangry.
Okay. But we're still talking about food. Caroline, that's like half of what we talk about. The other half is science.
Yeah.
Science and food, that's all we talk about. But anyway, so they say that really the Earth is in no danger because we're basically on the outer part of the Milky Way. This black hole is really, really far away from us. Now, here's the deal. They do believe that this black hole is 4 million times more massive than our sun. Yeah.
That's big.
But again, they don't know because we can't directly see it, can we?
Oh, yeah.
But it is surrounded by some very hot gas. So they've kind of been able to piece together what they think is happening at the center of our galaxy. See, again, this is kind of lining up with this idea that black holes are both creators and destroyers. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah. Come on over here. You want to be on the podcast, Penny?
Penny.
Penny's watching the Croods.
Yeah.
Penny's watching the Croods.
And we're watching Netflix right now, and like the first time I got it, that's all I used to watch, and they took it off for a little bit, and now it's back on. We have Dawn of the Croods, but they brought the movie back on, so I'm happy.
Is the movie the best?
Yeah.
Okay.
think
It looks
it is.
different. It looks like Dawn of the Croods was like hand drawn, and this looks like it's computer.
Oh, this can be like, are you talking about in the beginning
cartoon?
where it's hand drawn?
No, I'm talking about the cartoon doesn't look exactly like the movie. They look different.
Oh yeah, because it's supposed to.
Okay. So how would you rate,
'Cause-
if you have any friends that are thinking about watching the Croods movie, how do you rate the Croods movie? Is it a highly recommend?
If you go from 10, if you go to 10 stars, I would rate it 10 stars.
Dang, that's pretty good.
Except for Shira is 9 stars.
Okay.
So,
All right. Now back to black holes. Now, so on one of our first takes, you asked a really great question, which was basically, how do black holes form? Okay.
and I on the second one, I think they form from dying stars.
Well, we kind of touched this on episode 11 when we covered the different types of stars and how they're born, how they basically die.
And you said that one ginormous one formed a black hole.
Right. And so, yeah, black holes are believed to be the result of dying stars. Now, but this is the thing when it comes to black holes. Size matters. So if a star about the size of our sun were to die, it would most likely not form a black hole. Because, number one, there's not enough fuel. And number two, there's just not enough gravity because of the mass and the volume of the relative mass and volume of the star itself. It's just not big enough to create that type of density. But here's the deal. If there was a star that was about 20 times as large as our sun, okay, when it begins to run out of fuel, gravity will overwhelm the natural pressure from the star, and it will collapse in on itself, okay? The core collapses, and it begins to shoot layers of the star out into space. Now, this whole action is called a supernova, or basically an exploding star. Kaboom!
A-pa-chang!
Penny, come do your supernova cheer.
Ooh!
Okay, wait a second. You just threw away a fork in the trash. That's one of my good forks. Sorry, guys. That's a...
I'll go get it, Penny. You do the podcast.
Yeah, this is true live recording. Penny accidentally threw away her fork. She was so excited about the possibility of the supernova. So anyway, so yeah, that's what happens. But again, remember, to form a black hole, you have to be a supermassive gas giant. And we talked about those in terms of the sizes of stars on episode 11, didn't we? Now, even though you need a very large, very massive star to create a black holes themselves can come in a variety of sizes. Okay. There is a type of black hole called the primordial black hole that they can be as small as the size of an atom. So think about that, the size of an atom. A black hole is that's even smaller than the little freckles that dance all across your nose, isn't it? or it could be up until the size of a mountain. Now, in terms of celestial objects, that's still pretty small. Now, there are stellar black holes, which is kind of the second size of black hole, and this is the most common type. And scientists believe that they are 20 times more massive than our own sun. And for example, in our own galaxy, the Milky Way, they believe there's several dozen that exist within our little cosmic neighborhood here. Now, there's a third type, and the biggest type of black hole, that are called the supermassive black holes. And these are more than 1 million times more massive than the sun. And scientists aren't really sure how these guys are formed. Again, this is one of those mysteries that scientists don't know. That's pretty amazing. You know, it always intrigues me when science stops in terms of understanding. You know why?
Why?
Because that's where discovery is going to be made. Somebody out there is going to understand exactly why, and it's going to bring us into a whole new level of understanding. I think it's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I digress again. Now, remember we had that listener question that said, are black holes time warps?
Yep.
Okay, here's the deal. Yes and no.
Yes and no. That's weird.
Yeah, and you know what? Guess what? That's truly a black hole answer. It bends the rules of our understanding.
It can be and it cannot.
Let me give you an example of what Universe Today said, and this is the best way to understand it. Okay, let's imagine that there are two people, okay? The first guy's name is, let's give him a name.
Poopy.
Okay.
And then the second guy is pooping unicorn.
Okay, no, we're not doing that. Well, you know what? I'll take. We've talked about poop far too much on this podcast.
Poopy.
Let's give this guy the name of Unicorn. Okay, so Unicorn is going to be the first person.
And then the other one, Alien.
Okay, Unicorn and Alien. Okay, here we go. So let's say Unicorn is falling into a black hole, while the other person, Alien, is standing there observing them falling into the black hole. Now, from Unicorn, the person who's falling into the black hole, from their perspective, time is going very, very slow. Okay?
Okay.
Time is slowing down. So aliens, and let me make sure I'm explaining this correctly. Aliens watching as Unicorn falls into the black hole, okay? The way Alien sees things is that Unicorn is going very, very slow. Their time has slowed down. Okay, now, Unicorn is looking back at Alien, and Unicorn believes or perceives that Alien's time is going really fast. You know what? We should have gone with some better names. Maybe like Kate and...
No. Unicorn and Alien.
These are very confusing. This is almost as confusing as the idea of time in a black hole. So anyway, person A, who's falling into the black hole, is perceived to be going, their time clock is going much, much slower. While they, as they observing their friend on the outside, person B, their time is going much faster, okay? Because basically time is being bent at a black hole.
Okay.
Because it's so dense. I know, and it's kind of weird. So this is where people believe that black holes are the key to time travel, or at least the rules, the concepts, the things that are happening there, they might present the possibility of time travel.
Okay.
Now, what do you know about wormholes?
What are wormholes?
Okay, wormholes are another scientific concept that exists that people believe that space-time can be bent to allow for time travel, okay? Now, this is a very popular science fiction topic, and people have speculated for years if you were to fall into a black hole, of course, if you don't get ripped up and shredded like a garbage disposer, that you would be falling into a black hole. Some people believe these objects are kind of a wormhole to different parts of the universe, making faster than light time travel possible. Now, because if we remember our basic physics, people cannot go faster than the speed of light. It's just not possible. But let me read you this quote from Smithsonian Magazine. Since we do not yet have a theory that reliably unifies general relativity with quantum mechanics, we do not know of the entire zoo of possibilities, space-time structures that could accommodate wormholes. Okay, so that's kind of a very confusing way of going. Listen, black holes break down our current understanding. And what we do know in no way, shape, or form accounts for the things that are going on. So, I don't know. Wormholes could exist.
Yeah.
It's a possibility. Again, we just don't know what happens when somebody gets sucked into a black hole other than being broken apart.
Yeah.
I can tell you this. I'm not going to be the first person to volunteer to go to a black hole.
I'm not going. You're going. I'm not.
So do you think black holes are dangerous?
Yes!
Okay, so...
It shreds things up. Jeez, I would not want to go into a black hole.
Well, here's the deal. Black holes are only dangerous if you get too close to them. Okay? It's okay to observe the black hole from what's called the event horizon. Now, the event horizon is a very special part of the black hole. Now, while it's not technically the black hole, it's the part that surrounds the black hole. It's like the gravitational field of a planet. This zone is what is called the point of no return. So if you're staying right there at the, what is it called again?
The event horizon.
You should be able to safely observe the black hole. Now, by extension, this means it's likely impossible for a black hole to swallow up everything in the universe. Okay? Because, if you really let your mind wander, it could be a possibility that these big, giant garbage disposals of our universe could just go around munching up everything, right? But for whatever reason, they have a tendency to kind of be stable and stay exactly where they're at. Now, and again, this is part of the idea that we don't know enough about black holes to really have a good understanding.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, because black holes are so strange, so wonderful, so out there, so very poorly understood, they're used in science fiction all the time. One of my favorite books, A Wrinkle in Time, doesn't directly use a black hole, but it definitely uses the idea of bending space-time the same way a black hole does to travel across dimensions. So not necessarily time travel, but travel to places other than our very own dimension. And by the way, The Wrinkle in Time it's a great book. You should definitely check it out.
One time when we lived in Portland, me and Penny got it, but we had to return it, so we just did that.
Yeah. Now, one of the user questions was, have we ever technically explored a black hole? Now, from a man perspective, obviously not. Because if we were to explore a black hole, what would happen?
Oh, geez.
It would be ripped apart. Now, we have been able to image them and see them in a way that's indirect. In fact, in April of this year, a really smart woman named Katie Bowman, along with a team of scientists. And let me look up exactly what this team was. I think they were called the Event Horizon. Yes, the Event Horizon Telescope Project, which actually formed back in 2013. Ooh. So imagine, that's a long time to be, trying to figure out something that only happened in 5 years, 2019? And that's the plight of scientific discovery. It takes a long time and it takes a lot of people. But Katie Bowman just so happened to be on this team. And she became very famous at this discovery, namely because she had such an amazing picture that she took when they first began to image this black hole. Now, so let me explain, because I already said, hey, you can't directly see a black hole. You're probably going, oh my gosh, Kara, you're completely contradicting yourself. Man, I'm tongue-tied today.
Contradicting yourself.
So what happened was that Katie actually wrote an algorithm that allowed many different images and many different analyses of certain space data, in particular the stuff that's happening around black holes, to be all put together to create one main image. So it's not technically a snapshot. It's actually a bunch of different data, a bunch of different images that all came together to basically get a best picture of what a black hole would look like. Now, let me tell you what this is called. Okay, speaking of being tongue-tied, just wait till you hear this. Continuous high-resolution image reconstruction using patch priors.
Chirp.
Right, otherwise known as chirp. I think I'll go with chirp. What about you?
Chirp. Chirp, chirp.
So, while we have not technically explored a black hole the way that, let's say, Neil Armstrong or some of our unmanned rovers, which have been to like Mars or let's say like Hubble, we definitely have a best guess of what this black hole or what black holes look like. Okay? All right. Now, our very last and most sarcastic question. And by the way, this was submitted by Weston, Hank, and Dylan's dad. Shout out to them. If something is sucked into a black hole and no one is around to hear it, does it still not make a sound? Guess what?
What?
Caroline and I were able to obtain a very specialized recording of what a black hole sounds like. Caroline, can you help me play that recording?
Sure.
Bobby Boo! Bobby This is a wiener beagle serenading you. Bobby Boo! All right, guys, thank you so much for listening.